The fight announcements for the UFC are coming from the right, they're coming from the left, they're coming from all directions. 3 of these that we're about to discuss are from Dana White, 1 from AG Fight on Twitter. We're going to break it all down right here, right now. So I'll start quickly with a fight denouncement, but it did already get its replacement bout. The February 24th UFC Fight Night main event in Mexico City, Mexico has been tweaked. Amir Albazzi is out. Brandon Raw Dog Royval is in. We will now have Brandon Moreno, the number 1 ranked flyweight in the world, versus Brandon Royval, the number 3 ranked flyweight in the world. A rematch closing in on 4 years in the making. These guys last fought in 2020. It was a very fun fight for as long as we got to see it. Royval did injure his shoulder a little bit in that fight, but it did ultimately lead to a finishing sequence on the ground by Brandon Moreno. Brandon Royval is coming into this fight after fighting December 16th of 2023 against Pantoja for the flyweight title in a very good 5-round fight that we got to see. He fell short, but he's jumping right back in what will be just over 2 months removed from that fight in a 5-round main event slot with Brandon Moreno. Brandon versus Brandon, Mexico City, Mexico, the new main event. UFC 300 has its first of what's assumed to be a few different title fights, and it will be defended in the women's strawweight division. The 115-pound champion Zhang Weili will look to defend her title a second time, of course, during this title reign, which is her second as well. She's coming in on a 3-fight win streak, a spinning back fist knockout over Joanna Jędrzejczyk, winning the title over Carla Esparza, and having one of the most one-sided title defenses in UFC history against Amanda Lemos. And the number 2 ranked Yan Xiaonan will enter this fight on a 2-fight win streak of her own. She got a decision win over Mackenzie Dern, and most recently in May of 2023, got a knockout in the first round over Jessica Andrade, a former champion. It seemed like it was only a matter of time before these two would truthfully square off. It took a longer than I had anticipated, but we're going to get it at UFC 300. Again, it's the first of what's assumed to be at least a couple other title fights for this milestone event. And not only is it a big time fight, title on the line, but we are getting the first ever title fight featuring 2 Chinese fighters. This is China versus China. The only thing that wasn't able to come to fruition was getting this fight to happen in front of their home fans in their home country. However, they're getting on a massive platform at UFC 300. Zhang Weili is always in fantastic fights, one of the most exciting fighters on the entire roster, regardless of male or female. She's looking to continue her reign. And for Yan Xiaonan, she has earned this opportunity. She's put together 2 of her best performances to date, and it got her this shot at the strawweight championship. And now this next fight announcement doesn't come directly from Dana White. It comes via AG Fight on Twitter, their MMA and sports news. And they put out that Deiveson Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt will square off at UFC 300. Cody coming off of a big win, a knockout over Brian Kelleher. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He called for the fight with Deiveson Figueiredo, the former flyweight champion who has since moved up to 135 pounds, got his debut victory in the weight class just a few months back against Rob Font. Now, Cody hasn't yet earned his spot back in the top 15 rankings. However, we're talking about someone who's a former champion, a very big name for this division, one of the biggest at 135 pounds. And Deiveson got put in the number 8 spot after that win over Rob Font. So an absolutely massive fight, very fan-friendly, a very intriguing matchup. Let us not forget, we were supposed to see this a couple of years ago when Deiveson was still the flyweight champion and Cody was trying his, weight cutting down to 125 pounds. Injuries got in the way. We never got to see that fight happen, but better late than never. And honestly, it's probably at the better weight class at 135 pounds. The rankings may not be there for both guys, but there's a lot riding on this banger at bantamweight. Not only are these two announcements huge from a fan perspective, but they are huge in terms of implications at the 155-pound lightweight division. And that is because at UFC 299, we get a 5-round co-main event between Dustin the Diamond Poirier, number 3 in the world, versus number 12 ranked Benoit Saint Denis, who has surged ever since his debut loss on short notice. He's really kicking it into gear, getting big time style, flashy finishes. Now he gets a big jump in competition here against a former title challenger, a former interim champion, someone who's fought the Conor McGregors of the world 2 separate times. Well, I guess technically 3 times. Maybe we'll get a 4th one day. This was a fight announcement that came out of left field for me. Very unexpected, something I did not see on the radar for 2024. I didn't know what was necessarily next for Dustin Poirier, but it was not a number 12 ranked, very much lesser known fighter in Benoit Saint Denis. But I like this. I think it's a good statement being made here by Dustin Poirier saying, I will truly fight anyone. It doesn't matter who. They don't have to be some superstar, big name, for a title. It can be a young, up and coming guy. It's very much reminiscent of when Justin Gaethje had his fight with Rafael Fiziev. And the second lightweight fight is between number 1 ranked Charles Oliveira and number 4 ranked Arman Tsarukyan. The battle to see who will rematch Islam Makhachev for the lightweight championship. This is going down at UFC 300. It is just the 4th fight so far announced for that April 13th milestone card for the UFC. Dana said the winner will get Islam Makhachev for the lightweight championship of the world sometime in the summer. Islam is recovering from an injury right now. That is why they made this fight. Oliveira, with a win, will get a rematch against Makhachev for the title. But let's not forget, should Arman beat Oliveira, he will also be getting a chance to avenge a loss. His very first fight in the UFC was on short notice against Islam Makhachev, a fight that went the distance and wasn't as dominant as you would think, as we've come to know Islam and his career ever since then. It is a massive duo of fights a month apart from one another in the 155-pound division.